Sports Media Network. Now, we are bit of a dead period for the NFL and the Lions specifically. Not much has happened in Detroit so far, football wise. Really, the only things right now, we are coming up on training camp that's coming up somewhat soon. We're not, we're not cresting that hill quite yet. However, we do have some joint practices as well within the training camp, so that should be kind of fun. Let's just go ahead and talk about our training camp schedule. Um, First day of Lions training camp, July 26th, 7:30 in the morning, only for Lions members, which kind of sucks for the rest of us. However, the next three, July 28th through August 3rd, are general public. And then another members only on August 4th, and then August 6th and 13th and 14th are, or wait, I'm sorry, August 6th and 14th are general public, as well as the 21st. However, there is a private invitation only practice on August 11th and a Lions loyal members only on August 13th. So, with that being said, there's going to be a little bit of everything for everybody. Obviously, there's a handful of just regular practices that are open to the general public. And then, of course, there are the joint practices that are also open. The first joint practice is with the Miami Dolphins on August 13th. Gates open at 9:30 in the morning, and that's only Lions loyal members. And then the second practice opens same time against the Miami Dolphins, and that is open to the general public. Tickets are available to, I believe, all of the general public practices on July 15th at 10 a.m. I know I will be signing up and I will be there, hopefully for both the joint practices. Honestly, if it were up to me, I'd go to every single practice, but I live like 3 hours away, so I can't do that. Unfortunately for me, James, well, not unfortunately for me, fortunately for James, he lives very close, so he has more potential to go to more of them. But we'll see how that plays out when the time comes. However, I am personally looking forward to the joint practices to see those in person, specifically against the Texans. Obviously, the Dolphins are a good team, but I just would love to see that Houston team go up against our guys in person. Fun fact: I want to say about 10 years ago almost, and it's kind of crazy to say that. But I think it was about 8 years ago. I went to my first ever Lions training camp, and that was actually a joint practice with none other than the Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. So I was like 18 or 19, and I was able to, see Tom Brady in person, and I was able to, see Stafford and those guys. So that was an awesome, awesome experience. If you get the chance to go, definitely go. It is amazing. I went last year as well, and got to you know, say hi to Terrion Arnold and shit like that. So it's kind of cool to just, we get to see the players up, not up close necessarily, not as close as you'd like, but it's closer than what you'd see on game day by far. So it is definitely worth it. The tickets are free, so that's a huge thing. The only reason that they use tickets now is because so many people want to come that they can't accept everybody. So you basically it's more of an RSVP than it is an actual ticket. So just be prepared. July 15th at 10 o'clock a.m. is when that kicks off. So that's pretty much all we got right now for the Lions. July 26th, like I said, is the first day of training camp, and that's kind of when the NFL season really starts. I know we had rookie OTAs recently, but we know how that goes. It's a couple days, it's rookies, it's just kind of getting a feel for those guys and what they can do. So, not too much has really happened since the draft went on. But with that being said, James, do you have anything to add before we move on?
No, like you said, I'm looking forward to training camp. I do have, I don't want to say an insider, but a season ticket holder very close to me that is trying to get us tickets for that July 26th opening day. Um, so I don't know if we have secured them yet, but I know he's targeting one of those dates as well as I want to say it's the second day of the Miami Dolphins because we have 2 joint practices with the Dolphins and then one with Houston. And I think it's day 2 of the Miami Dolphins is the other one he's highlighting. So we'll see
Mm.
how often we can get out there and whatnot. And till then, like you said, it's a bunch of hurry up and wait. Hurry up,
Yeah,
get your
very true.
tickets. Now wait for it to start.
Yep. And that's kind of how the sports off season goes in general, isn't it? You know, it's like, all right, we're go like for the NFL, the Super Bowl's over and everybody's just like, all right, we are thinking about the draft, the draft, free agency. Well, once those things are over, you're just kind of chilling, waiting for something to happen, you know. Training camp, like I said before, is really when things start to make that next step into the season. Because right now we're still in the dead season for the NFL, and I'm sure the players are very happy about that. They get some time off in the summer, especially, which is really nice. With that being said, we will now move on to our NBA portion of the show. Uh, Obviously, as we all know, my Oklahoma City Thunder are NBA champions. Okay. Huge dub, game 7. Now, I was on this show saying I don't think they'd win another game. I was wrong, clearly. Okay. However, we won at the end of the day. So I'm totally fine with that. I will say, SGA had a all-time, season, not just final series. However, he also had an all-time final series, averaging over 30. I think it was almost 6 assists per game. And in game 7, he had 12 assists. And James, I don't know if you watched the game or not, but some of his passes were just ridiculous. Like, I remember there was probably 3 or 4 back to back to back to back where he would drive, two guys would I can't think of the word for some reason, go for him, they'd collapse, there it is, they'd collapse on him, and then he would just be in the air and like toss it to the side to a guy open, hits a three. Like, and that happened, I want to say, at least 3 times in a row in the third quarter. So SGA has just been elite all season, whether it be scoring, passing. And I think a lot of people, kind of undervalued his defense, honestly, like, especially. I want to say game 4, he had like 4 blocks and 2 steals as a freaking point guard, and then game 7, he had uh, a couple of each. I can't remember the exact statistics, but I know he averaged I think like 4 stocks a game, which is steals plus blocks per game, which is pretty freaking good. He was one of the only players in NBA history to average the points with the assists, with the defensive, with the blocks and steals. So really just elite performance all around. I know a lot of people are calling it a Mickey Mouse trophy or whatever. I just think people say that shit no matter who wins. Honestly, like, people are just gonna be like, "Well, they didn't do this, or this guy got hurt," and it's like, all right, look, the John Morant shit. I'm so fucking over people being like, "If John Morant was healthy, the OKC Thunder aren't winning." Hey, buddy, we beat the John Morant led Memphis Grizzlies by 53 fucking points in game 1. Shut up. I'm over hearing that shit. John Morant getting hurt, he was already down 3-0. Like, what are we talking about? And then the Aaron Gordon thing. Yes, Aaron Gordon is a great player. He got injured during the Nuggets series, and people are like, that's the only reason they beat the Nuggets. Fucking newsflash, people. The Nuggets have this guy named Nikola Jokic, who is the best basketball player on the planet. So Aaron Gordon getting hurt obviously is a big loss for them. At the same time, you have the best player on earth. I don't want to hear it. And then we go to, people are even talking about how Steph Curry got hurt. We didn't even fucking play him. And they're like, "Oh, Steph Curry got hurt. That's why the Thunder won the finals." It's like, bro, they lost to the Timberwolves, and then we gentlemen swept the Timberwolves. What are we talking about, people? And then look, the Pacers, I genuinely think, James, a lot of this comes from the fact that people didn't think the Pacers were really that good. I think that's what this all stems from, because they're going, the Pacers weren't even that good. And mind you, these are the same people that said OKC is going to sweep them. Then it's game 6 and it's 3-3, and people are like, wait, OKC must not be that good if the Pacers are going to game 7. No, you fucking dorks. No, that's not why. It's because the Pacers are very good. That's they just they went to the finals, people. Like, oh my god, it just blows my mind because it's like, oh well, the Pacers didn't play anybody. They didn't beat anybody. They beat the Bucks. They beat the Cavs, who, by the way, the Cavs were most people's pick to win the whole fucking thing. By the way, the Celtics as well. Sounds like they had a pretty hard go of it to get there, and they whooped ass on the way there. So I think a lot of this comes from obviously some injuries through the playoffs, but every team gets injured. That's going to happen. And I also think a lot of people are just undervalued, how good the Pacers really are. And then obviously there is the big loss of Tyrese Halliburton, which everybody, I don't care what team you root for, everybody had a collective like fuck when we saw that happen because I could tell he tore his Achilles immediately. Like just the way he fell down and started hitting the ground, and I knew he was coming in with a calf injury. I was like, yep, his Achilles just ruptured. It's gone. And it was clear. I mean, you watch the replay, his shit literally just pop, you know? That's basketball. That's sports. And I saw something the other day because everybody's talking about how Dame Lillard, Jason Tatum, and Hallie both, or all three, tore their Achilles tendon. Well, I don't think, I saw a post explaining this from like a Twitter doctor. Basically, there's this new move that they do where it's called a negative step, okay? And it's hard to explain, but think about it this way, right? Like if I'm the player, like when you go to like blow by somebody, usually you just go, right? They do this thing where they like take a step back and then push off with that foot. So it's like they're like putting extra on that back foot, and that's what they're saying. That's why all these Achilles injuries are happening, because I guess that's a new move that they teach the NBA players so that they can get more blowbys and things like that. However, that's why Kevin Durant tore his Achilles. You see it in almost the same context every time it happens, and it seems to always be that negative step. So maybe there's something to that. I think there is, because a lot of people are saying, where are all these Achilles injuries coming from? Because it seems like they're just happening so much now, and that makes a lot of sense. So I could see, that being the case. Now, congratulations to our Oklahoma City Thunder, but also congratulations to the Pacers for taking us to 7 games. I think they kind of proved themselves as a legit, like, these guys could be around for a while. Now, obviously, Halliburton needs to come back from his injury and play at a high level and things like that. Now, he likely won't play next year at all. So he's only 25. Now, losing a year in his prime sucks. However, it's better that he's not 30. You know what I mean? Like if he was 30, they might be fucked. Like they might have to just blow it up and rebuild. Now, he's only 25. He's coming back. He'll probably be 26, 27 when he plays again. You can still keep the core team that they have right now and be pretty good, right? Like you're not going to be some, bottom 5 team in the NBA with Siakam and Miles Turner and Nemhard and Obi Toppin and all the guys that they have. So I think they just keep going with what they got and wait, Halliburton will be back when he's back. With that being said, do I think the Pacers are going to be in the finals next year? No, simply because Halliburton's injury. But I could see them being a force for the next, 4 to 5 years, depending on what happens with Halliburton when he comes back. Now, moving on from the finals, we have had a handful of trades already in the NBA, stratosphere. Of course, first one being Kevin Durant getting traded to the Houston Rockets, and they gave up Jalen Green, uh, Dylan Brooks, and the 10th pick. I think this is a good deal for both sides, personally. I think the Suns, they get a young, athletic, explosive scorer that they can put next to Devin Booker. And they also get a defensive pest, culture type of guy with Dylan Brooks that they can play at small forward. Now, the problem is with that trade, I've been hearing a lot about the Suns trying to, move Jalen Green to another team, which I think makes a lot of sense because it is going to be an odd fit next to Devin Booker, especially because right now they really have a bunch of guards and wings. They don't have any bigs. And they don't really have many true point guards either. So I could see Jalen Green getting, swapped for a center or something along those lines. That would make a lot of sense. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he stays in Phoenix, and I think that would be a good move for them because I think he fits pretty well next to Devin Booker based on if he can play the role correctly. And I think he could, be more of an off ball type of guy. And then I think if I were the Suns, I would stagger them so that, they play half their minutes together and half their minutes separate so that when Devin Booker's on the floor with Jalen Green, they work off each other. But then Jalen Green kind of runs the second unit. That's what I would do. We'll see how it goes. But that's one big trade. And then we also had the Jordan Poole trade, which I will have to look this one up to get all the specifics because this was a little bit of a weird one. I didn't personally see this happening, but I didn't really think they would trade Poole, but it kind of makes sense. He's on an expiring deal. So the Wizards traded Jordan Poole to the New Orleans Pelicans for C.J. McCollum and Kelly Olynyk. And there's a little bit more involved in the trade, but that's kind of the idea of it. The Pelicans send a future for second round pick, and they get the 40th pick in tomorrow's draft. So not really a crazy trade by any means, but I do like it for the Pelicans, right? And here's why. So they get rid of CJ McCollum, who is a good player, but he's old and he's getting overpaid. Okay. They get rid of him. They get back Jordan Poole, who is on a 1-year deal. Okay. He's a good player, but he's getting overpaid. And then they also get, they also get the 40th pick and Sadiq Bey. That's what I was thinking. That's what I was forgetting. They also get Sadiq Bey, which Pistons fans, you guys know Sadiq Bey. I'm a big fan of his, and I think he fits really well with the Pelicans. I personally believe the Pelicans won this trade simply because the Wizards got C.J. McCollum and Kelly Olynyk. I mean, first of all, neither of those players are like real needle movers for an NBA team, and they're both on you wish they were both on expiring deals, but CJ McCollum still has years left. So I don't really get it for the Wizards. I see the Pelicans as the big winner of this trade because I think those guys fit really well with what they have as well. Jordan Poole can go back to his like Warriors days of sitting in the corner and just waiting for the ball, and he'll shoot a three, and that's all you really need from him. I think Jordan Poole is a little underrated for what he did with the Wizards. I think it's just the Wizards suck so bad no one gives a shit. So that's kind of the problem right now. So his value, went down pretty significantly. So, like I said, I think the Wizards pretty clearly lost this deal. Now, the other trade was Drew Holiday to the Trailblazers. So, Drew Holiday was traded to the Trailblazers for Anthony Simons and 2 second-round picks. So, the Celtics, they get Anthony Simons, a young scoring guard. He's not going to play great defense, don't get me wrong, but he's getting paid about half of what Drew Holiday. Well, that's a lie. He's getting 25 and Drew's getting like 37. So a little over half, but you're cutting that money down quite a bit. And that's kind of what the Celtics are looking to do this whole offseason. They just want to get out of that luxury tax because let's face it, guys, Jason Tatum just tore his Achilles. He's not playing next year. If you're the Celtics owner, you don't want to pay, an extra $50 million so that you keep Drew Holiday when you're not even going to be that great anyway because your star player's out. So totally makes sense. Anthony's way younger. I think he fits what the Celtics will need without Tatum. And then I also think he fits pretty well with Tatum. Like I said, he's a scoring guard. Like that's pretty much what he is. He's not going to play good defense. He's not going to get you 12 assists. He's just he could probably average 20, 25 on that team, honestly, especially without Jason Tatum. So good deal, I think, for the Celtics. I don't love it for the Blazers simply because Drew Holiday is old. He's a little washed. Like he's not bad, but he's not what he used to be. And you have to pay him $37 million over the next 4 years. So think about it this way, right? You just traded away a 26-year-old that's getting paid $25 and $27 million the next 2 years to get a 32-year-old who's getting 35, 37, 37. Dumb. I don't and they're not ready to win. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense, in my opinion. We will likely see a lot more trades happen too as the NBA offseason progresses. Obviously, things are kind of going fast, so I could see, tomorrow night is draft night for the NBA. There are rumors that OKC wants to move up in the draft. That makes a lot of sense, I think. I could see a handful of teams moving up or down in the draft simply because this is kind of an odd draft. There's like three guys at the top of this draft that are just like everybody wants these guys. And then there's a group of maybe like five guys after that that you could see become like legit all-star talents. And then there's a drop off. And I think that's kind of the problem is you see teams like OKC, they're picking at 14, 25, I believe. So 14, 25, and then 44. They're a team that's going to try to get up to like 8 or 9 because they want one of those guys that could potentially be an all-star. So see a lot of that kind of movement tomorrow night as well. And of course, Cooper Flag is going to be the number one pick to the Dallas Mavericks, which all I'm saying is the NBA has done a great job at colluding with the Mavericks and Lakers because I don't know if you saw this, James, but the Lakers just got sold for $10 billion.
Yep.
A lot of theories going around right now saying, it's kind of odd how the Dallas Mavericks sold their team and then traded their star player to a team who's just got sold in the biggest market in the NBA, and then the team who traded their star player just got gifted the number one overall pick. I don't know. It's just weird. It's really weird, and I genuinely think someone should I'm not even trying to be funny right now, guys. We should look into this. Okay? The FBI should legitimately look into this. Genuinely. Because what are the fucking odds? Like, I would love to know what the odds of this happening. Not only does Luka get traded for Anthony Davis, which isn't a terrible trade, but I think we all know they could have gotten more. He not only that gets traded to the Lakers, which are the number one media team in the NBA. Not only that, he pairs up with LeBron James, who is the face of the NBA, and then that team gets sold for $10 billion. That's just the first part. And then, on top of that, the Mavericks get the number one pick. It seems so obvious. Like, it's like smacking me in the face. Like, this is not legit. This is not legit. It just seems to me the NBA wanted to get as much money they could out of that Lakers sale, and they forced this trade to happen, and then they were like, hey, look, we'll give you Cooper Flag, so you'll be fine. You'll get Anthony Davis and Cooper Flag out of it. Think about it that way. I don't know. I'm just saying. I think there needs to be legitimate conversations about what the fuck is going on. Okay? The last thing about the NBA we will talk about is the draft tonight. Obviously, the Pistons, they have the 37th pick in the draft. So an early second rounder, no first rounder, though. I don't think we're really going to do much. I don't really see much of anything happening for us. I personally believe, and, Langdon has said this already before, that they're not really going to look to make a splash this offseason. And, I mean, we talked about this many times on the show. If they do, it's going to be in free agency, and I don't really know, there's so many different speculations on who that could be. Naz Reid, somebody like that, or they could go for a Julius Randle, or they could go for a James Harden. We'll have to see. With that being said, though, I think it's pretty obvious that the top three in the draft are going to be Cooper Flag, Ace Bailey, and oh my gosh, how am I blanking on this guy's name? The guard. I cannot believe I cannot remember his name right now.
I can try to look it up, but I do not know off the top of my head. Not for NBA draft.
Dylan Harper. Okay, yeah, I'm an idiot. Sorry, guys. Dylan Harper is his name. Both Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey played at Rutgers together, so that's kind of a cool thing. We're going to see two teammates drafted in the top three. And by the way, they didn't even make the March Madness tournament, which I think is kind of odd. If you have two top three NBA draft talents on your fucking team, how did you not make the March Madness tournament? Like, that just blows my mind. It reminds me of Ben Simmons when he played at LSU and he was like the best prospect since LeBron, and then he didn't make the March Madness tournament, and I was like, I don't think so. LeBron would have won that bitch. LeBron would have walked in Ohio State and won that bitch, and then been like, yeah, what's next? You know. So with that being said, we will now move on to the Detroit Tigers. Um, some things are happening. Some of them are not that good, but I will let James elaborate on what that means. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Chase. Oh, as you segued into, there has been a lot of kind of mixed reviews and reactions from the Tigers and their fan base over the last, I'll say 2 weeks because I wasn't here last week. As I always mention, they are 5-5 their last 10 games played. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that's bad, but that's bad compared to what we were doing prior to. We have a 3-game series opening up in about 2 hours against the A's, and it is a Scooble game. So make sure you tune in if you can, because we need to watch him while we can, and I might touch into that in a little bit. Um, I know we talked on that in a past podcast, and probably will again in the future podcast. Um, you know what? It's on my mind now, so F it. I'll just talk about a little bit about it now. There are, I don't even want to say rumors because the quote came from Scooble himself, and I don't have it in front of me. But the gist of what he said, because I don't want to misquote him, is look, guys, I would love to stay in Detroit. I love it here, but this is a business after all, and I deserve a certain amount of money because I'm awesome. And he is. He's not wrong. And once again, paraphrasing, um, but it just oozes with, hey, I've probably reading the tea leaves, as we say. It seems like he was approached about an extension, and they lowballed the shit out of him. Because anything other than that, I don't think it would generate that response from Scooble. And I know I've mentioned on a prior podcast that Chris Ilitch is a terrible and cheap owner. He does not want to pay these high-end players. He did not want to pay Cabrera, and he was looking to get rid of him once he took over the team. He did not want to pay anyone that comes by, and it looks like he doesn't want to pay Scooble market value. And that is not only bullshit for every fan in Detroit, but if that is the case, we must trade him and get something for him at least. And if some people out there, because I don't know everyone out there, but it's pretty, it's very well regarded that we should resign him, as I think we should. But if you are on Team Illich and you don't want to pay a pitcher upwards of 55-ish million a year, like he's gonna break the bank, and he should. Right now, he is the best pitcher in baseball. There's no debate. There's no dispute. There's no, well, this guy has, 90% of his stats. No, he's in a league of his own. He's doing things that no other pitcher in the league is doing, and he wants to be paid like that, and I don't blame him for that. But I do blame Illich for not wanting to pay him. Like, why are you driving our star talent out of town? Put this in any other city. Your team is in first place, not only in the division, but in the entire league. Even going 5-5, the Tigers still have the best record in baseball as we speak. And you might not want to pay your best player. That would be like prime LeBron on the Cavs, and the Cavs just like, we don't feel like giving you what you deserve. It's like he is the damn team right now. We do have other good players. I know someone's going to troll me on that one, but we do have quite a few all-star caliber players, which, speaking of, round one of all-star voting is coming to a close, and currently the Tigers have 3 all-star starters. So if you are voting on that, make sure you do continue to vote. Fan vote is only a portion of what is accounted for that. But so far we have three All-Star starters with Green in left field, Baez in center field, even though he's only had 24 starts there. I'm on the fence about letting or allowing that to be a thing, but it is what it is right now with the fan vote. And then Torres at second, which left field and second for Torres and Green are legit. But going back to Scooble, it like I said, we've talked about it before. I don't know how you don't pay him. I can remember my comparison was Mahomes. Like you have Patrick Mahomes going to KC being like, I want a pay raise because I'm great. Guess what? He is. And then the Chiefs were like, nah, you're just gonna let your franchise quarterback walk? Like I guess you can
Well,
trade him, and you would go ahead, go ahead.
oh, sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but it makes me think of another team that we're seeing right now that is in a similar boat with their ownership. The Bengals, okay? Think about it this way. Trey Hendrickson, he wants to get paid, and they're like, sorry, no. That's pretty much what's happening right now. And I personally, like, to go on a little bit of a tangent here, I personally am so fucking over hearing about the owner doesn't want to pay him. Shut the fuck up. You're a billionaire. Take the money and give it to him and shut the fuck up about it. Like, what are we talking about? Like, this is like as if, like, let me break it down to a non-sports level thing, okay? This is like a business brings in a CEO and they pay him $100,000 a year because he's not that known, and he goes and explodes that business and makes it a fucking Fortune 500 business. That would be like that business saying, actually, we don't think we need you. We're not going to pay you. That would be the most idiotic fucking decision that that business could possibly make because that guy got you there. Now, obviously, baseball, sports is a little different because it's not just one guy. However, I also kind of understand it on the baseball side even more because let's face it, a starting pitcher, he ain't starting every game. He only plays a handful of games. You know how that goes. So, point being, I kind of get why an owner would say, I don't want to pay a pitcher. However, I don't get why you wouldn't want to pay a pitcher that's this good on a team that's this good. Because at the end of the day, as an owner, you make money based on how good your team plays. That's it. Period. If you go and trade the best player on your fucking team while you're at the best team you've been in over a decade, probably,
Yes.
I mean, that's just fucking stupid. Like genuinely stupid. Like that makes me go, do you not have it? What's the problem? Like are you poor? Is that what you're saying? Because I know that's the Bengals problem. We know the Bengals are cash poor. That's why they don't pay guys because they can't afford to go ahead and just here's $50 million, here's $130 million, similar to what the Lions did this offseason with all their big deals with Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Their owners aren't cheap, so they're more willing to reach in their pocket and throw some big bonus money at these guys, not only to keep them around, but to make it to where the GM can build a team because they have less of a cap hit that way. So, point being, this just makes no fucking sense to me, like at all. Like, if you're an owner of a sports team and you refuse to pay a player, let's just be real, okay? You have cap. There is a cap in not baseball, but let's say like football, there is a cap. Everybody gets to spend the same amount of money. What that tells me is the amount of money that you're spending in the cap is like this much of the money that the NFL made. You know what I'm saying? Throughout the year, they spread it out that way. So let's just say if Scooble, if he gets $55 million per year, what percentage of the money that the Tigers make every year would that even be? Would it even matter? Like, that's where it confuses me because if the Tigers bring in, let's just say, $1 billion a year, I don't know what it is, let's just say, 55 million is like nothing to them. And that's a guy that keeps their shit going. So I don't get it. That's really all I got.
For what it's worth, while you were I'll say ranting, I looked up and Chris Ilitch, the owner of the Tigers, is claimed to be worth, according to Google, 2.4 billion. So apparently 55 million will just break the guy, even though the Tigers would turn profit, like all these sports teams turn profit. The only thing I was going to debate you on, which you you came around and corrected it yourself, is I wouldn't quite compare it to the Hendricks kind of contract demands in Cincinnati because football does have that salary cap and baseball, for all intents and purposes, does not. They do technically, but there's ways around it and blah blah blah. I'm not going to bore anyone with that. Um, but there is it's easier to do it in baseball. I mean, the Dodgers have like a $200 million payroll for their team, and I think the Tigers' entire team is something like 90. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, there's rich, like kind of like you said, there's rich owners and poor owners, and I don't think any sport, maybe soccer, but that's outside of my realm, has that kind of difference. Because I do know I've seen on Twitter some of these overseas soccer players are making buku bucks, which good for
Oh
them.
yeah.
But yeah, like Scooble's worth this, and I kind of agree with you in terms of building a roster in baseball. Although starting pitching is required, it's very necessary. I would be hesitant to give top dollar to a starting pitcher because even if healthy, they only play 20% of the games. However, Scooble is not just a pitcher. Like, he's not Otani, but he is the best pitcher. And if anyone, pitching wise, is going to be worth that money, it is him. And I mean, he won the Triple Crown last year, which is the best ERA, strikeouts, wins. If you know, you know. I'm not going to bore you because I know a lot of people do find baseball boring, so I'm not going to lull you to sleep with a little bit more odds and ends. I do want you awake for this program. And it's just asinine because, I mean, to be fair, if they do trade him, they can get a fuck ton for him. I mean, maybe we can get 3 or 4 starting caliber players for him. Um, and then maybe we'll just try to win the game like was it the 2009 Saints? Just try to win every game like 52-45 and just say F defense and just make it a home run derby. But it would be stupid to let him go. But I said it might happen. I mean, for now, he's still a Tiger. Maybe he'll come to his senses. Hopefully, there's enough fan outrage. But even in the midst of this season, and even when I come on here, I always say like, "Hey, our next game is this," and I'll say, "Oh, by the way, it's a Scooble start." I won't say, "Oh, it's a Casey Mize start," or "Oh, it's a bullpen chaos start." Like, Scooble is worth the watch. Scooble is someone that I paid $10 to get an Apple TV account to watch him play because, well, for whatever bullshit reason, he was pitching on a day that was only on Apple TV. I hate all the streaming services, but I mean, I paid $10 just to sit on my couch and watch him. It's kind of like a long distance ticket, so to speak. But like, he is that good. He's worth keeping, and I really hope we do keep him. But with that being said, I don't want this going too much longer, so I'll end my Tigers part with that, and to kind of segue into the Red Wings because I believe that's the next team up, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, okay, gonna head nod. Um, you mentioned, because I took notes here while you're talking NBA, that Halliburton's only 25 years old. Red Wings fans, how's it going? What if I were to tell you there is a 25-year-old on the trade market who is literally an all-star? He's
But
been
James,
in all.
but James, are we gonna have to give up guys we won't see play in 5 years for him? Because if so, I don't think it's smart. I
I'll tell you what, unfortunately, we are going to have to give up some of those players.
Dang it!
We
In
are.
2030, I wanted to be really good. Like what?
I know. But some
Damn it!
people want to play now and win now.
We got World War III. Don't worry about that right now.
Exactly. Exactly. They might never play. But Halliburton only being 25 and Jason Robertson, I've mentioned him on a past podcast, and I've mentioned that it's going to be expensive to trade for him because he's good. The only reason he's even on the market is because of the cap space. Because he is exceeding his current contract. He's due a raise, just like Scooble, just like so many other players. And the Dallas Stars have too many deals that 2 or 3 years ago, they signed 4, 5, 6-year deals, so they cannot get out from under them. And now Robertson needs a raise. So unless you trade some other players, which why would other teams help bail you out so you can sign your better player? He's kind of forced to go unless he's just going to sign a extremely team friendly deal, which why would he? But that's the only way he'd pretty much stay, unless the Stars are willing to cut literally 4 to 5 guys. It's not just going to be 1 or 2 in order to keep him. And I think it was Bleacher Report. I think it was Bleacher Report. Did a mock trade scenario that has the Wings acquiring Jason Robinson for our 13th overall pick in Friday's draft, which to me means absolutely nothing. It's a guy we won't see for 5 years, regardless of whoever the hell it's going to be. Bergeron, I'm sorry, I always call him Bergeron. Berggren, it's not how it's spelled, it's how it's pronounced. Berggren, who was one of these up-and-comers in our system for the last 3 to 4 years that we've always heard, like, oh, he's so good with the Griffins. Wait until he makes it to the pros. Oh, this and that. And this is his second year with the Wings on their main roster, and he looks like shit. Like, I don't want to per se say he's embarrassing himself, but for the hype he had coming up, he's a flat out bust. He's a third or fourth line guy who, while coming through the minor leagues, was an untouchable. We can't trade him. Oh, if we trade him, we will woo the day we trade him. And now we're hoping someone takes his damn contract. Like, so a first round pick, who cares? A guy that didn't work out, who cares? And then ASP, who I will say is arguably the number 1 or 2 prospect in our system. He is fantastic. He won the Swedish professional under-17 league MVP. He just came over to Grand Rapids this offseason. He's yet to play for the Griffins. Literally every scouting report and every rumor on him says this kid is going to be damn good. But I heard the same thing about Berggren, and it didn't work out for Berggren. So I would say yes to this trade. And I have seen so many people, because I posted it on my X account, saying, before I give my 2 cents, what do you guys think? And then under whoever originally posted it, I was reading through comments. So many Wings fans said, not in a million years, no chance in hell. Wings laugh and hang up, I saw someone say. And I'm like, I would smash yes, accept, move on. Because to me, 2 of the things in the trade don't matter. And yes, I would hate losing ASP. I would try to counteroffer with something else. But if that was the proposed trade, if they said, no, this is what we want, if we're giving you Robertson, take it or leave it, I don't know how you say no. You're literally trading a prospect that could be really good one day for the guy who would be the best player on your team, who is also only 25. If Robertson, because I did go back and look at the numbers, were playing on the Wings in the 23 to 24 season 2 years ago, he would have led the entire team in points by 8. If he was on our team last year, this one that just concluded, he would have been tied for first on the Wings in points and number 2 in goals. And if you want to go back one more year prior, when he was only 23, and for the 22-23 season, he would have been the first 40-goal scorer in almost 20 years, and the first 100-point player since 1995. So, considering he had a 109-point season and then back-to-back 80-point seasons, he somewhat fell off, but even his 2 fall-off years, he would be the best player on the team. Keep in mind, once again, he was putting up these what would be record-breaking numbers if he was a Red Wing at the ages of 23, 24, and 25. It would be 26 during next season. And for what it's worth, I value playing time. I think everyone should. He is 82 games played out of 82 each of the last 3 seasons as well. So in the last 3 seasons, in a sport as physical as hockey, he has not missed a game. For the record, last year on the 23-man roster, 3 Red Wings did that. So he would be the 4th Red Wing to do that, assuming all the numbers translate. And I did have one person tell me that, well, while you are correct in these numbers, he would be number 1 on the team and blah, 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 he got those higher numbers because he was playing in Dallas with a better roster. So if we were to trade for him, he would not put up those same numbers here. Well, while that is partially true, because we do not have the same talent Dallas has, my argument is so because he is good with good talent around him, don't go get him and add talent. Why would we not want to add talent? What are we waiting for? And like I was going on about the our prospect, like I said, ASP might be great. We know Robertson's great. He's already, I just, it's so obvious to me, and thankfully I saw a few others in the comments before I even commented. So it wasn't people just defending me saying the same thing. But I don't know, for what it's worth, I know most people don't care, but he did grow up in Michigan. He was born outside of Michigan, but moved here when he was 10, so he grew up in Michigan. And I'm just like, bring this guy home. Like, holy shit. It's exactly what we need. He's a first-line left wing in his prime. He is looking for big money, but we have big money. That is unfortunately one of the plus sides of having a terrible roster and a terrible team. We don't have too many high money contracts because we don't have good players to pay. So, God, that's so sad to say. But we can pay it for him. He'd easily be, like I said, the best player on the team. He would fit right on that first line left wing along with Larkin and Raymond. That would allow Casper, our up-and-coming rookie center, who had a fantastic rookie season last year, center the line of DeBrincat and Kane for line 2, and give us 2 legit scoring lines. The Wings were the, I want to say number 1 or number 2, because I don't have the numbers in front of me when I looked it up earlier, but we were in the top 2 teams that relied, the most percentage of our goals were scored by our first line, which is great. That's why they're your first line team. Like, they're supposed to be your best guys, but they're not supposed to carry the entire team on their back. They're supposed to be the leaders and, pave the way for everyone else, but they're not supposed to literally carry the rest of the roster. I mean, there is 20 other guys. And this will give you a brand new first line guy, allowing last year's first line guy to drop down to the second. And dare I say, we have some depth at forward. And all this is possible. I know I was kind of banging the table in the offseason to try to go get Mitch Marner, who is better than Robertson. However, as a free agent, he would have to pick us. And by every report out there, he's not really interested in joining a non-contender. So there's nothing we can really do about that. Although we could ask the question, why after 6 years do good players not want to come here? Hopefully we would have had a good core that some people would want to come here and join, but I'll digress on that. But with Robertson, it's a trade. He doesn't have a choice. Now, I would ask for a extension to be a part of that deal. If we were to trade this exact package for him and he plays here 1 year and leaves in free agency, we screwed ourselves. So maybe behind the scenes, which would be obviously unknown to me, maybe they had that discussion. Robertson says, no, I wouldn't sign an extension with you, and then that would end all conversation. But I would at least like to hear the names rumored or linked. So that part I have not heard yet. So until I do, I'm going to be slightly salty on that front. But with the draft being Friday, moving my way over to there, there's only one prospect that if we do keep the pick at 13 that really grabs my eye, and that is Victor Eklund. And if the name sounds familiar to hockey fans, that's because his brother, William Eklund, plays for the San Jose Sharks. And this kid is kind of, I was going to say, if it was like 2 weeks ago, a sleeper, a lot of people had him mocked around 15 to 20. And the reminder, the Wings pick 13. But over the last 2 weeks, his name has shot up draft boards. And now I've seen some mocks have him go 8th overall. So I don't even know if he'll be available. But he was a guy I've been headhunting for a while. He is a high upside player. But like Jace was saying, even with his upside and everything like that, realistically, it would probably be 2028 until we see him. So I'm not going to give him as much airtime and rah rah as we would like Tyreek Williams, who we will see starting on Sundays come this winter. So I mean, that's the name that I would look for. Um, I do want to ask anyone viewing out there, comment in the comments below this video, whether it's on YouTube or Twitter, who you think the Red Wings should draft. Also, I want to know people's opinion on the perceived trade that Bleacher Report had. Would you do it? Would you not? Why? You already know my reasons, but maybe I'm the one not thinking clearly, and let me know what I got wrong if I did so. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Jace.
Yeah, I personally would say that you definitely got it right because I agree 100%. I feel, especially in a sport like hockey, it's almost always better to trade your non-proven guys for proven guys. Like football, it's a little bit less. Like I would say football is the least amount where it's like I think I'd rather hold on to my younger guys and see what they can become. And then I would say it probably goes to like soccer after that because guys play for a long time in soccer. And then I would say the NBA simply because like in the NBA it does make sense depending on who the young guy is and depending on who you're trading for. It definitely makes a lot of sense to get rid of unproven guys for proven, especially if it's like a 3-for-1 type of deal that can really get you over the hump. And then in hockey, I would say it's probably the biggest simply because, like you've said many times, it takes so long for these guys to even do anything. Like if I'm Illich, like you got to look like you have to look at the ages of the guys on the team right now. You know what I mean? It's like um I want to say DeBrinket's 26. I think uh oh my gosh, how am I blanking on his name? The captain.
Larkin,
I can't. Yeah, Larkin. He's like 27, 28.
28.
28. So they're getting like they're not getting old, but it's getting to the point where we can't really just kick the can for 5 years. Like if we kick the can for 5 years, it won't really matter what these guys may like come to be because our best players right now aren't going to be as good anymore. So we're getting to that point where it's like, okay, we kind of need to make a move, and I really like this idea. Obviously, we've talked on this show many times. I personally do think we need defense and goalie more than anything else, and I believe you agree with that too. But when you're getting a player like this of this caliber for what seems like it's not going to be an insane amount of capital, I think you do it. That's just my opinion. So, with that being said, first things first, if you need some new gear, if you're a Skubal guy and you have a bunch of his shirts and his jerseys, you and you go, oh shit, we might not have him next year or the year after that. Maybe it would be a good idea to go get you some Riley Green gear or get you some Javi Baez gear because Fanatics is the place for you. And click the link down in the description and you will find all that and more for every team, every sport, every player. Whatever you need, they got it. Go ahead and click the link in the description, and that will help us out as well. And then also, if you're looking to try some new things, try some new foods, you should check out trytheworld.com. The link is also in the description. Basically, what they do is they have a subscription where you just pick a country in the world and they will send you the snacks from that country every month. I personally think it's a really cool thing. If you can't necessarily, afford to travel all over the place and you really want to try some things from Italy or Korea or Czechoslovakia or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Do whatever you want. You can pick any of them. Link is in the description as well. And then last thing to talk about today is the NFL. Now, obviously, we already talked about the Lions a little bit, but the NFL has had some things happen over the past week or so. So just to kind of run through this, Jair Alexander has agreed to go to sign with the Baltimore Ravens after being cut by the Packers, which we talked about on the show many times. He was likely going to be cut. Surprised it took so long, but Jair to the Ravens makes a ton of sense in my opinion. They're a really, really good team who really needs a second corner or a CB2, and I think he fits that mold perfectly right now. He's not elite anymore by any means. You know, he's not gonna, be your lockdown corner. But I think as a CB2 in a defensive scheme like Baltimore's, he's gonna be nice. Like he's gonna do his thing. And I'm really glad for him. Although he seems to have some issues, personality wise, that may have been part of the reason why he was let go in Green Bay. So he signed a small deal in Baltimore, and let's hope he can kind of work his way back. And then Rodgers said the other day on Pat McAfee that this is probably his last season, which I think we all kind of assumed. He almost didn't play this year. So that just makes sense. I do think him announcing it before the season is probably a good idea because then, the team can prepare to like, okay, we know he's not going to be an option next year. It can be kind of a farewell tour because listen, I've said it on the show many times before. Aaron Rodgers is a top 5 quarterback of all time. Period. No way to slice it. However you want to fucking look at it, he is. Okay? You want to argue for somebody else, good luck. I'm sorry, but like he's done it all. He has done everything that you would ask an elite quarterback to do. Okay. Now, is he Tom Brady? No, he didn't play to that standard into his 40s. However, that was an anomaly that's probably not going to happen again unless it's Patrick Mahomes. So I think people, for one, are a little rough on Rodgers because of his, political takes and his political stances, and that then bleeds over to how they look at the rest of his career. And I just think that's a stupid way to do it because we're talking about sports, folks. We're not talking about who he is as a person. Like, you don't have to like the guy, but you got to realize he is one of the greatest to ever do it, okay? And the fact that Aaron Rodgers is likely not going to be in the NFL after the season is just another legend walking out the door. Tom Brady gone, Aaron Rodgers gone, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers, all those guys that we grew up watching, they're all gone, guys. We're old officially. It's happened.
Oh man, you don't get to say that yet.
I mean, I fucking feel it, brother. Shit. I played 9 holes of golf today when it was 98 degrees and I felt like I was literally dying. I was like, am I melting? I'm like, did I shit myself? Like, you ever had that before where it's just so hot and you're sweating and you're like, I don't know if I pissed shit or I'm just sweating hard and I'm not going to find out. I guess we'll see after this. But point being, I am old to people younger than me. The same way you're old to people younger than you. That's just how that goes. So I work at a high school, so I'm used to getting called old all the fucking time. Okay,
You see this hairline? You can find the back of it.
See, that's the thing. I try not to judge guys' age on their baldness because my uncle lost his hair at like 17. So you
I
never
started
know.
balding at 17. It started falling
Really?
out when I was a junior in high school.
Jesus, man. I
Genetics.
Fingers crossed. I was gonna say my grandpa's bald, my uncle's bald. I'm like, I might be fucked. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But point being that Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest to ever do it, and we are losing him after this season, whether you like him or not. That should hit you in the heart a little bit. That's all I'm saying there. So with that being said, Nick Chubb signed with the Texans. I think that's a pretty big move for them. I think that's perfect for him as well. Goes to a team that already has a number 1 running back in Joe Mixon. And I just feel that Nick Chubb was never going to be a number 1 running back again after the injury. That happened to him twice, by the way, that same injury. Same leg and everything. So, yeah, he's probably never going to be the same again, but let's not act like he's 35 years old, folks. He's 29. He was one of the best, you know, That was not a slight, I promise.
Hey, I'm not 35 yet,
Scout,
but I'm damn close.
Scout's honor. But it's like let's not pretend that this guy's just washed. I mean, he might be, but you know what else he might be? He might still be really fucking good, especially in a role where he has to be the number 2 guy and they just put him in there in certain instances. Man, he could kill it over there in Houston. So that is going to be kind of fun to watch. And then the last like transactional thing we'll talk about is Jermaine Pratt is he got cut by the Bengals, who we talked about before. They cut their starting middle linebacker to save money. Just saying. And then he went and signed with the Las Vegas Raiders. However, the big news for today on the podcast, and James, you might not even have heard about this. So, today, Goodell was, I don't want to use the wrong terminology
Yeah, this
because
is
I
brand
don't
new
think
to me, so I can't wait.
I don't think found guilty would be the correct terminology, but you ready? So there was a collusion ruling. An arbitrator reportedly found that the NFL and Roger Goodell encouraged team to reduce guaranteed money for veterans. Wild. If that's true, like it says here that they essentially came to the conclusion that it happened. And it happened at the 2022 owners meeting. So it sounds like the NFLPA might have just won that grievance. So who knows what could happen from that? But the fact that the NFL commissioner was caught pushing all the owners to pay old guys less guaranteed money, I don't love that. That's a bit of an odd look for the NFL right now. And honestly, the fact that no one's talking about this is crazy. This happened today at noon, and I have not seen it on Twitter.
Yeah,
I
this
have
is the
not
first
seen
time
it
I'm
at
hearing
all.
of it.
I found it doing my notes for the show before the show. I Googled NFL news, and it was the number one thing that popped up. I have not heard anything about this. So, kind of
Well,
crazy.
maybe Stephen
Go
A.
ahead.
Smith will put something out there on it once he's done with Solitaire.
Right? Fucking, oh my God, dude. I'm so glad you brought that up because now I get to go on another tangent. I get to go on another tangent.
Get some
Oh my
popcorn, people.
God, dude. This motherfucker, bro. Like, okay, first of all, running for president, yeah, good luck. Shove it up your own ass, okay? That's all I'm saying. You're never going to be a fucking president, ever. Ever. And if anyone votes for you, if I find out that anyone, okay, puts their name on a ballot and says Stephen A. Smith for fucking president, I will personally find them and waterboard them, okay? That's where we're at with this, all right? I cannot stand this motherfucker, dude. And the fact that he shows up on his show and he's all, oh, rah, rah, I know better than you and I know better, I'm this and I'm that. But the motherfucker don't even watch the game. It's crazy. It's almost like we all knew that already, almost. It's almost like we all were like, man, this dude just be talking. He don't even really know what he's saying. He just says shit for fun because he knows it'll get views. You know what they did to my boy J-Dub, Jason Williams, the other day on his stupid-ass fucking worthless show? They said, hey, Jalen Williams, we know you just won a championship and won a Game 7 and had 40 points in a Game 5, but our question for you is, how do you feel about the Kevin Durant trade? Are you fucking serious right now? And even J-Dub, he goes, well, any team that gets Kevin Durant it just got better. And then he goes, but if it doesn't involve the team that just won the championship, I'm not interested. It's like, are we serious right now? Like, is this what we do on sports television now? Is just say random shit and hope that it sticks and have no clue what we're talking about and just, well, hey, it's all about drama and, you know, that kind of dumb shit because that's what gets the views. I cannot wait for the day that this man is no longer on television. I just cannot wait. And then the best part, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, the best part is he's playing solitaire on his fucking phone while watching the NBA Finals and has the nerve to talk about it and be like, they were on a timeout and blah, 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 blah,
Yeah, it
blah,
was
blah.
time out.
It's like, okay, first of all, It wasn't, so you're lying. Okay. Second of all, even if it was timeout, I, don't you think that's a good spot for you to be working? To be like, okay, this is what happened. This is what happened. Maybe this will happen. Like his whole job is to fucking come up with scenarios and fucking random bullshit, right? Well, don't you think a timeout is a good time to maybe write down some of those points you're going to talk about in the first take? Or James, or what's more realistic? He just has somebody else prepare all that shit for him. That's what I'd say.
Oh, I want to say yes just because I hate the guy, but I specifically remember certain things about him before I stopped listening to him years ago. He's no better than Skip Bayless. But it was I can't remember which. Unfortunately, Kansas City's been too damn good. But Kansas City was preparing for an AFC Championship game, and Stephen A. Smith was on ESPN ranting about how is whoever they were playing. I want to say Buffalo, but don't quote me on that. I don't want to pull a Stephen A. Smith and get my shit wrong. Um, but he was saying how is the Chiefs' opponent going to prepare for Kareem Hunt? And at this point, Kareem Hunt was a Cleveland Brown for like 2 years. I'm like, I know he's
I
back
do
with the
remember that.
Chiefs now, but he was a Cleveland Brown at that time. And it was not like that first year he was traded away, where he was like traded at the deadline or whatever. He was at least season 2 with the Browns, and I'm like, even if someone wrote it for you, they wouldn't have wrote that. So I mean,
Right.
unless
No,
that
that's
was the
valid.
breaking point, maybe
Yeah,
maybe
that's
after
valid.
that they had someone do it for him. I don't know, but I'm just
Yeah,
like,
I just don't see him being the guy that's like, all right, I'm gonna sit at home the night before and make my notes and all that shit. It's very possible, but well, I don't know about very. It is possible, I guess. But that kind of makes me think about that whole Joy Taylor thing that happened. I don't know. You probably remember this with Aaron
I do.
Rodgers, where she is sitting here on a fucking live television show saying Aaron Rodgers is a bad teammate because he's not at OTAs and blah 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 blah. And then nobody thought to say, "Hey Joy, he's not on the Steelers yet." Because we know he's a Steeler now, but this was weeks before he signed.
Correct.
Not one person on the production team, not one person, not the director, nobody said anything. Now, I don't know if that's a worse look for the show or for her, because honestly, they could have just been trying to save face and be like, we don't want to call her out. But at the same time, you're ESPN, brother. You should have the facts because you have a bunch of people working on it in the background. You should have some. They have a fucking earpiece for a reason, folks. That's not for funsies. It's not just to say, "Oh, we're going to commercial." No, it's for shit like that where they should go, "Hey, Joy, maybe don't go so hard because you're completely fucking wrong." I don't know. That's just me.
Well, that's not her first scandal this off season, so I'll just say that.
Yeah,
But
very true.
but I wanted to jump in real quick and talk about the topics that you mentioned with the NFL portions. Um, I do think Jari Alexander to the Ravens is a match made in heaven for both of them. Alexander needed a fresh start. He needed a different change of scenery. And the Ravens, my gosh, I mean, they're already a good team. I don't have their numbers in front of me. I don't know what their record was, but they were a damn good team. They drafted one of my top targets. I wouldn't have minded the Lions drafting in Starks, the safety out of Georgia, to add to Kyle Hamilton. And now they get Jari Alexander as a CB2. So their defensive back room, if healthy, is elite. And that is a hell of a good pickup, like I said, on both ends. And if he blows up, then they can, obviously re-sign him, not whatever. I don't know their cap situation. The Goodell news wows me just because, like you said, I did not hear anything about it. You broke news to me, at least on here, and I'm sure a couple other people. I don't know how many people we have watching live, but um, I mean, I've been on Twitter all day talking about the Wings and looking up sports stuff, so that never came across my feed. Um, I don't even know how to process that, to be honest, right now. So I will pretty much withhold statement for now. Besides, that's bullshit, obviously. But I don't want to get off on a rant where I just talk in circles, which I do anyway sometimes.
We all
Rogers
do, brother.
last. It's like, what if I phrase it like this? I'll get on to my next sentence. I'm like, no, this phrasing sounds better, and then I'm like, oh, the one
Hmm.
bad side of doing a live show. But hey, it's live.
Right.
Um, Rogers last season, all I can say is thank God. Um, I know you had the nice and I'll say professional soliloquy of him riding into the sunset. I can't wait to never see him again. I do not wish him harm. I hated that he got hurt with the Jets and all that. Like, no one wants to see injury. No one roots for injury. Well, I shouldn't say no one. There was that guy on X that I called out. But like you don't want to see that, and I'm just so over him. Like he was good. I don't quite know about top five all time, but I will guarantee top 10 all time. I'm like we might be able to go back and forth on that. And then in terms of Chubb to Houston, then I mean, like you said, he's not going to be a number one. I don't know if he'll ever be a number one again, but he definitely has something left in the tank. I wanted him, and I mentioned on a prior podcast, I think one of our first podcasts, that I would like Chubb in Honolulu Blue. Like he would be a running back three here, but I do think it's an okay situation for him in Houston. I like the fact, like you said, that he has Mixon ahead of him, so he's not going to be the bell cow. That part I love. What I hate for him is Houston doesn't have an O line. They traded
Well,
away.
they redid it. They redid their O line. So like
I
it's worse in ways and better in other ways. Cause like they traded Tunsil, which is a big loss, but they got better everywhere else, I think. So it's kind of like we'll
if
see.
if they can block for him, I like it. I would like the fit, but I'm just like a dude coming off a major knee injury. I don't even know if it was a knee. It might have been kind of like
Yeah.
Hutch with a shin, or either way, a major leg injury behind not the best old line. It's just not a match made in heaven. But I do like the fact that he is a number two behind Mixon and all that. Pratt to Vegas, I don't really have much on that. I wouldn't have minded if we kicked the tires. Maybe we did. I would not have broke the bank for him. But it does intrigue me because I have not heard literally anything pro or con about any Anzalone updates. I know some people were freaking out in the past about him skipping the voluntary OTAs, and like I said before, he skipped them in the past. But I have not heard literally anything, whether the Lions have talked to him about a contract, whether they're working on something behind the scenes, whether it was not involving a contract at all. Because let's also keep in mind, any viewer out there, that people out there were saying Ragnow wanted more money, and that's why he wasn't at OTAs before he retired. So the Anzalone thing might not even be contract related. We don't know. He hasn't come out and said anything, so maybe there's no smoke to that, or no fire to that smoke. But I would, like I said, I would have kicked the tires on Pratt pending on the cost, but he signed just like a day or two after he got cut. So I mean, good for him. And man, between the training camp schedule and talking Lions, and I'm going through Twitter and seeing all these like U of M commitments and whatnot. I'm just so ready for football to be back, man. I'm just so ready to talk football every week and actually be able to break down game film and say, hey, man, Gibbs did this. Like, because when we started this podcast, it was in the off season still. We have not had this during the season. Man, am I looking forward to it.
Yeah, I definitely hear you there. And like for me right now, coaching football as well, it's like I go to football practice, once or twice a week, and it gives you that little like it's a taste. It's like, oh, you're out there for an hour, you get to yell at some kids, to block right or whatever the case may be. And it's like, oh, I remember this. This is fucking sweet. But then it's like done. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, that wasn't enough. It's like I cannot wait. I cannot wait for 2 days to roll around where it's just 6 hours of practice and you're just out there getting your shit done. And then of course, like you mentioned, the Lions and Michigan and all this football season, this upcoming football season is going to be great, I think, for everybody involved with it. So before we go, I have two things. So one thing just happened, okay? Nikola Jokic, okay? Uh did not get traded, thank God. But the
The Pistons?
the I wish. Uh, the Nuggets owner just mentioned in a press conference that there is a scenario where the Nuggets are forced to trade Nikola Jokic. It has to do with the second apron because the new CBA for the NBA changed some stuff to where you can't have three guys making $50 million a year or whatever the case. So he said there's a nightmare scenario where that is a possibility. So something to keep your eyes on. Now the other thing is if this is Aaron Rodgers, going back to you disagreeing, okay? If he's not top five, so I think there's four that are over him no matter what. Like, it's not a conversation, right? We
Okay.
have Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, and Patrick Mahomes. I think right now we can say, okay, Patrick Mahomes already has more Super Bowls. He has almost as many MVPs right now. And he's only, 29? So I think when his career is over, we will definitely
I
say
got
he
you.
was
Yeah.
better. So, however, who else is there? Because I'm looking at this list of guys,
Drew Brees.
and nah, mm-mm. Drew Brees has no MVP awards. Aaron Rodgers has four, and they have the same amount of Super Bowls.
What about the other stat? Like, I don't have them in front of me, but
So look at it this way. Um,
because off the top of my head, that was a name that I would put up there was Drew Brees.
I also think that Drew Brees is one of those guys, in my opinion, that gets very overrated because of his statistics, but he gets underrated by the younger crowd nowadays. So Drew Brees played 40 more games. He had, let's see here, he had about 60 more touchdowns, but Aaron Rodgers has 130 less interceptions. So, I mean, Drew Brees has a little bit more yards, but it's not like insane.
You are because I pulled them up here, so I'm looking at them as well. They both have the one Super Bowl. They both have one Super Bowl MVP.
hmm
Um,
Rodgers has four MVPs. Drew Brees has none.
Brees has three more Pro Bowls. Back in the day, I will say that meant something. Now I get like 90% of the people bow out, and I would say probably anything after maybe 2015, 2016 Pro Bowl wise does not matter. But back in the day, it did matter.
I would
Uh,
say the only guy that I was looking at that I think has an actual argument is John Elway because he has the Super Bowls, he has the MVPs, and I just feel like even then I still put Aaron Rodgers over just because it's like the things I saw Aaron Rodgers do over his career. I have never seen someone throw a ball that looked like it was on a string. Like literally looked like it was attached to the guy's palm on a string. Like insanity, insane levels of talent. And I also think that what 5 year from like 2018 to like 2022, 2017 to 2022, that might be the best quarterback I've ever seen. And I think a lot of people would agree. I mean, if you just look at his stats um, in those years, another thing I would say about Rodgers that most people don't really take into account is how little interceptions he throws. Like
oh, I
he
think that's
had
his biggest thing.
yeah, he had 130 less interceptions thrown than Drew Brees. That's kind of
Yeah,
insane.
he
Like
takes care of the ball. That is something I will always tip my cap to him.
so, think about it this way, okay? From 2014, I would say, well, shit, he's had a lot of good years. But I would say 2014 or no, 2011, I think was his first MVP.
Okay.
4,700 yards, 45 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 122.5 QBR. And then in 2014, 4,400 yards, 38 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 112.2 QBR. 2016, 4,500, 40 and 7. 2018, 4,500, 25 and 2. 2019, 4,026 and 4. 2020, 4,300, 48 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. 2021, 4,100, 37 and 4. And then 2022 is last year with Green Bay. He had 3,700, 26 and 12. Now, obviously that last year wasn't the greatest, but I did skip over a few years early on that he played really well. So I just feel like there's like that 2020 season where he had 4,300 yards, 48 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. That was one of the best seasons I've ever seen from anybody. Period.
Yeah, it sounds a
And
lot
he
like
was,
something Jared Goff's going to do this year.
man, that'd be fucking awesome. What I think Jared Goff could do something similar, but he'll have like 500 less yards and like 20 less touchdowns.
We're gonna run the ball so much, so we'll see what
Yeah,
happens. But
yeah,
we have so,
we'll
and
see.
it's a good problem to have. But we have so many mouths to feed. We have
Yeah,
two A+ running backs. We have two A+ receivers, an A+ tight end. I'm
yeah,
bigger on Tesla than most people in terms of what he will do year one.
right,
And we'll see what happens. But once again, man, I can't wait for football.
right. So with that being said, I will say I don't think anyone other than John Elway could be argued even over Rodgers because the only guy after him I think would be Dan Marino, and he didn't win any Super Bowls. So that's kind of the sticking point. But with that being said, that's going to do it for this show. We appreciate you guys for watching. As always, you can find me at JSoSweet, James at Gullet_James, and you can find us both at MI Sports Media and MISportsmedia.com. Once again, we appreciate you for watching, and we will see you on the next one.